Hello everyone, welcome to That Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. So in today's video we're going to be learning how to make a princess bustier with a Basque waistline. Okay, so these are the fabrics or the materials I'll be using. This is going to be my main fabric. It's a crepe fabric. This is my lining, my wadding, which is going to be for the pad, and then I'll be using boning to give structure to it. I'm making a Basque waistline. You want the down part to be really structured so that the backs can come out well. So without wasting time, we're going to be drafting directly on our pattern paper, not on the fabric. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my front and the back pattern already. So this is our shoulder line. As usual, if you have been following me, you should know how to get your basic bodies first. So this is our shoulder line. The shoulder measurement I'm working with here is 7 inches. That's 14 divided by 2, that's 7, plus half inch for joining the sleeve. I'll be adding allowance to this pattern. So here I have the bust line. Shoulder to bust point is 10 inches, shoulder to under bust is 13, shoulder to half length, which is the upper waist half length, that is 16 inches, and the front length of this top is 19.5 inches. We're making a Basque waistline, so this top is going down like close to a little below the belly button. Okay, so here the back length is 18 inches. This is topping at the waist at the back. Okay, that's just a little above the upper hip. So this is 18 inches. So it's a difference of 1.5 between the front and the back. This is because the bust is in front. So that 1.5, remember I have 18 here and here I have 19.5. So that difference is as a result of the front length, which is the bust that created that difference. So this 1.5 is our bust dart, which we also refer to as our side dart. So we're just going to proceed with our drafting. So first I'll enter the nipple to nipple of this person, which is 3.5. Her nipple to nipple is 7. So 3.5 is half of her nipple to nipple. So I'll be marking it. This is my center front line. So let me label it CF. This is bust line here. I hope you can see. On the bust line, waist line. Okay. So having entered our nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5, I'm going to rule a straight line up to the bust line. Okay. So once we're done with that, the first thing I'll be doing on this side, on the bust line, I'll be on the waistline, I'll take out half inch for my dart. On this side, half inch. I'll do the same thing on this part too, on the waistline here, half inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect it this way. So then I'll go ahead and enter the bust measurement. Quarter of the bust measurement is 8 and 3/4. Her bust is 33, so that's 8 and quarter. So here is my 8 and quarter. So to tighten the under bust is the difference between the bust and the under bust that gives you what you use for your tightening. And here in this case, her under bust and her waist measurement is 28 inches. 28 divided by 4, that will give us 7. So 7 minus this 8 and quarter that we have here, that is 1 and quarter. So I'll be entering 1 and quarter on this side. I'll also come here and enter it on this side. And then I'll also bring it down to this point. So now you can see I'm bringing everything down here. This is because this person's tummy is flat, 28, 28, on the bust waistline 28, here too 28. So that's why I'm bringing everything down. So in a situation where maybe let's say the under bust is 28 and here is 30, of course it will reduce. So you see your dart going this way. But in this case, my dart is going to be going straight because this person doesn't have a big tummy. So can you see that? I'll take it down. So I'll go ahead and connect now to the bust point. So I'll place my curve like this. So you want to come down ½ inch from this point first so that you can place your curve correctly. So can you see that? So and then I'll go ahead and curve this that too to this point. Okay, so having done that, I'll come here now to the midpoint of my armhole. This is the midpoint of the front armhole. So on this midpoint, I'll come down by ½ inch. So having come down from the midpoint of the armhole by ½ inch, so I'm going to place my curve this way. So on this bust line also, just go up by ½ inch. This also depends on the size you're working with. This is bust 33. You can see that the person is on the slim side. So if you are working with maybe let's say bust 40, you can do 3/4, 3/4. Okay, so that will be a total of 1.5. So can you see the way I'm placing my curve? I'm going to take it now to the armhole. Okay, and then I'll also come here now this way and curve it also to meet this point. I'm taking my armhole dart. So this is going to be my dart. Okay, so now having done this, I'm just going to extend this part because now this is now the new armhole. By the time we're joining this together, this center piece becomes longer than the side piece, so you want to increase this length. So most times I use my dart. Whatever I have here, I have a total of 1 3/4, so I'm just going to extend the armhole by that 1 3/4 so that once you are joining, whatever it is, whatever excess you have, you will trim it out because you won't even exhaust it. But this is just to give you a guide on what you should have. So here I'm just going to connect it this way. So we're done with our armhole. So the next thing we want to do is to enter our measurements. So here the bust is 33. 33 divided by 4, that's 8 1/4. So here's our 8 1/4. The under bust is 28. 28 divided by 4, that is 7. So here is 7. That intake we have here, everything we have here is 1 3/4. So we'll replace back that 1 3/4 here. If you don't replace it, you're going to have a big shortage. So the waist measurement is the same 28 inches all the way down. So we're going to be replacing back our 1 3/4. So I'm just going to measure the total I have here. I have 8 3/4. So I'll just bring down the same 8 3/4 here. Bring it down here too. So now I have my measurements. Just connect it with a straight line because it is straight. So and then we'll connect to the bust measurement here. Okay, so and then we'll take it up this way. So having done this, the next thing we want to do now is to enter our bust dart, which is the difference between the front and the back, which is 1.5. So from here I'll mark my 1.5 from the bust line, come down by the difference. So I'll connect it to the bust point like this. You see, so that's just all we need. So now we have our bust dart. So now I remember I said I'm making a basque top, and this top is going to have loops at the back, so you don't really need too much of your sewing allowance. So this is my actual measurement now. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 1/4 inch or 1.5 inches, or even 1 inch is fine. So depending on what you want to achieve, because this will have loops at the back, so meaning you want the waist to be a little snatched when you tie the rope, so you don't need too much allowance. So I'm going to be adding 1 1/4. 1 1/4. You can do 1 1/2, you can do 1 1/4, and like I'm doing, just do whatever works for you. So here is my 1 1/4 inch. So I'll connect it this way, then this way, and then this way. So this is now my sewing allowance. Okay, so then we'll come to the neckline. We're making a queen ant neckline. I've done several videos on how to make queen ant neckline, so I'll be fast with this. So from the shoulder line, I'll come down by 6.5 inches, and then I'll open up with a width of 2.5 here. This is 2.5. So at this point, so to make it easier for us, having opened up with a width of 2.5, I'll come here and mark 3 inches here, and then I'll still bring the same 3 inches to this point. I'll connect it this way. Okay, so now that I have my 3 inches mark, I'll bring it back here like this. So now I have the width of 3 inches here, and then I have a depth of 6.5 inches. Okay, so at the side here, I'll go up by 2.5. So having gone up by 2.5, at this 2.5, I'll go out by 1 inch. So now this 1 inch mark I have here, I'm going to connect it back to this initial 2.5 that I have here. So you can make it curvy or you can make it straight, depending on what you want to achieve. So I'm just using a slight curve on my pattern master. And then I will curve it to come here. I'm giving it that heart shape. Can you see what I'm doing? So right now our front piece is ready. I have my queen ant neckline and my princess armhole bustier. So we're just going to leave this at this point, and then we'll treat the back before we come back and cut it out, and then I'll show us how to increase the length to achieve the Basque waistline or the back stop we want to achieve. So here my back, first I already have the waistline, which is the whole length, which is 18 inches. So here is the chest line. I'm just going to rule out the chest line. So here we have our chest line. The first thing we'll do is to enter our nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5. So 3.5 here. So you want to straighten your line this way. So having done that, first I'm going to take ½ inch dart on both sides. So on the chest line here, I'll come down by ½ inch to connect my dart. Okay. So having done this now, next thing to do is to enter the bust measurement. The bust is 8¼ So here's my 8¼ and then here we have our 8 inches. Not 8 inches, we have 7 inches, which is 28 divided by 4, that's 7 inches. So I'll go ahead and replace back my 1 inch dart. So now we're done with this. The back is this simple. So the next thing I'll do on the center back, this is my center back here, I'm going to be taking out bulge. I'll be subtracting ½ inch from what I have here on the waistline. Take note that I entered my complete measurement. That's the underbust, the waist measurement, which is 28. 28 divided by 4, that's 7 plus 1 inch for that. Then after doing that, now on this center back, I'm going to be subtracting ½ inch. This is to eliminate bulge at the back of this top. So this ½ inch here, I'm connecting it down this way. So I'll be cutting out this. So but remember I said I'm going to be working with loops at the back. So to have loops at the back, it means you are going to be taking out some part of your measurement that you have here in order to have the loops, and you lace the back and it's sitting nicely. So having done that, from this point now, I'm going to be subtracting 1¼ inch. So now this is now my new center back. This new slanted line is now the new center back. So from this center back here, I'll be subtracting 1¼ inch. On the bust point here, on the chest line here, I'll be doing 1½ Here is 1¼ here is 1½ So I'll just go ahead and connect it this way. Okay, so the neck width I'll be using is, remember that I used the neck width of 2.5 here for the front, so of course I have to use the same neck width for the back so that the Queen Anne's neck can sit well. So here is my 2.5. So this is my 2.5. So from here now you determine how you want this to be. So from this 2.5, I want to take it down this way. So I'll be having like an open back, like a V shape at the back. Meanwhile, my loops will be on this part. Okay, I done my drawing. So I have my loops on this part, and then this side is the neckline. So this is it for the back. It's that simple. So I'll go ahead and add my same sewing allowance, which is 1¼ inch. 1¼ inch, and then I'll go ahead to connect it this way. So for this back, you can decide to make your back dartless, because you can see that the dart is very close to where the loops is going to be. So you don't want to have your dart being very close to the loop. All you need to do when we're cutting out our pattern, we'll close the waist dart. So this top will be dartless, but it will still have the right shape that dresses with darts have. But if you don't want to make it dartless, you can still decide to cut this dart opened. That's cut it out, and then of course add your sewing allowance to this piece. Now this will now be the center back piece, and this will be the side back. So you now add your sewing allowance to this one and add to this one. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do, I'm going to cut from this part of my paper to extend this part, because we want to achieve our Basque waistline. But that will be after I have cut out the front piece first. So I'll be cutting out this. Let me just mark the sides I'll be cutting out. I'll be cutting out this side. Okay, and then this is my bust that I'll close the bust that. So I'll just cut it out and show us what to do. So I forgot to mention this for the shoulder. Remember that we have taken out our shoulder dart here. So whatever it is we took out, this is about ½ inch. I'm going to be increasing it here because this will cause us a shortage. So you come to the shoulder line here and then go up by ½ inch. So now, but take note of what I'm doing. I'm using the Queen Anne's neckline. You can see that this line is slanted. So instead of just taking my ½ inch all the way up like this, that's taking the ½ inch all the way this way. Can you see that? I'm going to take that ½ inch and I'll blend it into the shoulder line. This is because it's a Queen Anne's neckline. You can see that as the line is slanted this way, of course it is longer. Let's take our measurement this way. Can you see? Having measured this way, you can see I have 4¼ inch. But when I place my tape straight now this way, can you see? Ordinarily this is 4 inches. So you don't want to increase this side so that it doesn't gape. You want the neckline to really sit firm on the shoulder. So that is why there won't be any need for you to come and increase here by ½ inch. Even if you increase, you will still reduce it. So it is just better to add your ½ inch here to the shoulder tip, that's to the side of the armhole here, and then blend it up into this line. So now you can see I've cut out the shoulder line, and then I'll go ahead and cut out this part of the armhole. So now we have our centerpiece. You can see my dart. So I'm going to remove the armhole dart also. So having done that, now you want to close the bust dart. Okay, so all I need to do is to place it this way. And you see, you pick the dart. This is where my dart, and just pick it from here and bring it to the bust point like this. Can you see that? So now you can see I have some small excess here. All I need to do is to just blend up my line. So you will need to add a piece of paper here so that this shortage you have here, okay, it's not even, I already have small piece here because I didn't cut on my exact line. So I'm just going to now trim out the excess because this is my 1¼ inch allowance here. So can you see? So now we have the side piece for the front and we have the center piece. So this is my dart. We'll just throw it away because we remove this. So these are what we need. These two pieces are what we need. So I'm going to show us how to increase the Basque waistline. Okay, so to create the Basque waist that I want to have in front, and see I've increased my paper. So now this is me. I placed my center piece and my side piece together. And you see this is a straight line. So you want to extend that line. That's this way. Just bring it down. So this front length, I'll be increasing it. The front length of this person, the Basque front length is 25 inches. Here I already have 19.5. So I'm just going to place my tape on the 19.5 and bring it down to 25 inches. So here is mine, 25 inches. So from this point now, take note that this is where my sewing allowance is. So from this point, I'll be connecting to this point. You don't want to connect it from your sewing allowance. You don't need to increase that side. That part will go into your sewing allowance. So I'm increasing from the actual measurement. So I'm bringing it this way. Can you see that? So this will now just go this way. So it depends on what you want. If you want it to have, let's say, a curved shape, all you need to do is to place your pattern curved. If you want it to have those recent square shape that you see some people having this way like this, and then they take it back this way. So if you want to have that shape, that's fine. But me, I want to use this sharp V shape. So this is it. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. So now for this side piece now, this is what I'm going to be doing. Take note that because by the time I place them together and I want to join them, remember that it's a slanted line. Because it is a slanted line, you can see this part. You see this part is lower. I'll be joining them on 1/2 inch together. So this part, I'm going to come when I'm cutting on my fabric. I'm going to increase this side piece by 1/2 inch. So that by the time I join it with this part, because this is where it will be joined with. You understand? So that by the time I join it, they will all be equal. So I'll be increasing this side piece on my fabric. So go ahead and cut. So now I have my Basque waistline. So this is what my back, I can see I've cut out my neckline, the armhole. So this part now is the part that will serve as a loop. So I'll be cutting out this part in order for me to create loops at the back of this outfit. So remember I said if you decide that you want to close your waist dart, all you need to do is to use your tape to tape it down like this. So you can see that you have succeeded in closing your waist dart. Can you see the shape it has? So to give you that shape that clothes with darts already have. But if you want to sew through, that means you cut out this dart. So that means this part will now serve as a yoke. So because you will have to cut on this line so that you can cut out this part and then join them together before you place this. But I want my back to be one piece and I want it to also be dartless. So I'm going to be closing the waist dart. Okay, so I'll just be cutting out one piece for my back. So I'll cut out my fabric and I'll show us how to join our pieces together. So let me show us what we have here. This part, so I'll just cut it out like this. You see, let's place them together. These are my front pieces. So you can see that the sides, after closing the bust dart, they are matching up at the side here. Okay, so this is what it should look like. So I'll cut out my fabric and then I'll show us the next thing to do. My fabric. So this is my front piece. This is the main fabric and then this is my lining. So on the lining, you can see the neckline. I added gum stay to my Queen Ant neckline. I want it to really stand well. And then my pad also, I fused the pad to the gum, then to the lining. This is because I'm using a lightweight fabric, which is this crepe. I don't want so much tension on the fabric. So just the same way you add your pad to the main fabric, I'm adding it to my lining to still give me that same fitting. Everything will come out perfectly. I don't want tension on my main fabric, so that's why I just went ahead to place my pad on the lining. So you can see this is the center piece, and then I also went ahead to add 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance. Remember that it was the nipple to nipple measurement. Let me place this in the center this way. Can you see? I have my 1/2 inch I'll be using to join it to the side. It's a nipple to nipple measurement, which was 3.5. So if you leave it exactly at that 3.5, that means you won't have sewing allowance. By the time you join the bustier together, it will reduce it to nipple of 6, which is going to be not, it will not give you the person's actual nipple to nipple. So I've added my 1/2 inch. That's the long and short of the story. So here, for the side pieces also, I also added my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Can you see? This is what I have. And then I also applied my paper stay on the lining and I also applied my pad on the lining. On the main fabric, I used hay stay. So this is because hay stay lasts better on the fabric. So you don't want to use this one on the main fabric. So for the back now, this is what I have. I have my lining and I have my main fabric. So take note of this part. You can see that it's a little notched. This part that is not, this is to indicate that this is where my loops will start from. So that's why I went ahead to notch it. You can as well take your measurement from here. Now I'm going to put this down. So from here, from the shoulder tip to 8 inches, that's where the loops will start from. Okay. So, and I've also cut out the fabric I'll be using for the loops. The fabric on fold, I cut out one 3/4 inch on fold. So that 3/4 inch on fold, that's 1.5. Then I went ahead to fold it into 2 and then like this. So this is for the loops. I'll be using it to create my loops. So now it's time for us to sew. So first, I'm going to take my front piece and my back piece. I'm sorry, my front pieces rather. I'll join them together. So remember I said I was going to make the side 1/2 inch longer. So this is because that's at the base here. This is because, can you see the extension here? So by the time I join it together, which I'll be joining on 1/2 inch, can you see that this point and this point are equal, which is very important so that it doesn't reduce your measurement. So I'll be joining them this way. I'll join this way. So I'll do the same thing for the main fabric and then I'll show us how to fix how I'll be fixing the bonings, because these bonings is what will determine how structured your Basque waistline will be. Okay, so I've joined my linings together. That's the front pieces, so you can see. Then I went ahead to sew my boning. I placed one boning in the center. You can see I sewed on both sides. This is Regeline boning. So, and I also went ahead to sew one. I placed it from under the bust. I did the same thing here. So now you will notice that I placed boning on this side to create this Basque shape. This is so that the backs will come out well. You don't want to just leave it like this without this. You'll just notice that the V shape will not be firm and really strong. So that is why I placed my bone in this way and then again this way. You can see I created the V shape there. So all I did was to go up by ½ inch, which is going to be my sewing allowance for joining the lining and the main fabric. And then I placed my bone and I sewed to the center front. I did the same thing here and I did the same thing here. Take note that I left my sewing allowance. My sewing allowance was 1¼ inch. I left more than that. This is about 1¾ because I don't want it to get very close to the side seam. So by the time I sew, I will be okay with this because this is around the back waist here. So that's it. And also I've joined my front piece together. So for the back piece, this is what I have here. So I've also sewn my loops. You can see how neat it is. All I did is to place my loops one after the other. This loop is 2.5 inches long and then I folded it this way. You can see that I sewed a bone here. You want to do this so that it can fortify the loops. You don't want to drag. Remember that we're going to be tying our rope. So by the time you are dragging, it's likely to cut if there's no boning here. So this boning is to fortify this area. So that's exactly what I did for this side. You can see I've gone ahead to use my lining to turn it and everything is sitting all neat. So I'm just going to repeat the same thing here. I'll use my lining also to turn it. So the next thing I want to do for this front now is to sew my front neckline. So after sewing the front neckline now, I'll go ahead and join the shoulders. Once I join the shoulders, I'm going to be shaping it fabric to fabric, lining to lining. I want to do inseam sewing. Remember that the front is quite long, longer than the back. You can see this is how the back and the front. So you see this bit. So I want to do inseam sewing. So I'm going to be shaping lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and then I'll show us the outcome. I'll show us the what they have before we go ahead and continue. So I've sewn the sides together. And you see this is the lining side, that's the inside, and this is the right side. You can see it's inseam sewing, everything is looking all neat. So now what do I do? To turn the hem, that's to stitch the hem now, I'm going to flip it out like this. So I'm going to flip it out like this and make sure to pin this part. And I'll make sure to pin this part, this side where I have the basque, that's this V shape, making sure that all your points are aligning. Here, I'm going to open my seam allowance here. You need to press your seam lines open. Okay, so I'll open my seam allowance like this. Can you see how it is here? I'll just open it, pin this point. So you can see my side seams are aligning. So by the time you do that, naturally this place will align so long as all your measurements are accurate. So I'm going to pin this way like this. So so, so you can see I've pinned and all my points are aligning. You see the dart legs, they are aligning. The side seam, they are all aligning. It's very important. So now I'm going to be sewing on ½ inch. You can see that my seam allowance is already here. I'm going to be stopping here just at the tip before my boning. This is so that it gives me that perfect basque waistline. So I'm going to be sewing this way on the seam allowance I left all the way to the back this way, from this side this way, and then I'll bring it and show us. So I'm done sewing it and I've turned it out. Can you see what we have? I've not pressed it yet. So I'm going to press it. Like I said, you can see all my points are aligning. That's what will actually make your work neater. Can you see? This is what it looks like on the right side. Everything is coming out all nice. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do now is to properly trim my armhole. Remember that we extended the front armhole. I should have even done that before this stage, but it's still okay to do it now. So all I need to do is to trim this part of the armhole, because remember that we extended it when for the side piece. Okay, so you can see this is my armhole, right? Can you see that? So you just trim out your excess. Okay, so see my front armhole. So I'll also do the same thing for this side. I'll trim out this excess I have here also. After trimming out my armhole, you want to confirm to be sure that you trimmed out correctly. I'm going to place my tape from here to this point. Can you see? I have 13.5. Remember that the shoulder measurement we worked with was 14 inches, which half of it was 7 plus half inch for joining the sleeve. So 7.5 in two places. Remember, we drafted on full. 7.5 in two places, that's 15 inches. So that 15, the front armhole we took away 3/4 of an inch from our 7.5. Of course, we're going to be left with 6 and 3/4, right? So 6 and 3/4. Right now I have 13.5. So 6 and 3/4 plus 6 and 3/4, that gave me 13.5. So you don't want your armhole to bulge at all. You want everything to sit well. So this is it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and fix my sleeve and wear this outfit and this top on the mannequin so that we'll see the final outcome. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you have watched up to this point and you're yet to subscribe, please kindly hit on the subscribe button to subscribe, and don't forget to put on the notification bell so that you get notified once I post a new video. And also endeavor to share this video with your friends. Come make your comments, ask your questions if you have any. Thank you for watching. See you on the mannequin.